As the 104 days of summer vacation approached in the spring of 1989, thousands of Chinese students realized that they had absolutely no good way to spend it. This was an annual problem that seemed to affect this generation of Chinese youth in particular, an annual problem that these students felt the Chinese Communist Party was not properly addressing. To express their concerns over the fastly approaching summer vacation, many of the Chinese students began gathering to protest in Beijing's Tiananmen Square. This gathering included summer vacation rights activists and strong supporters of youth in Asia, Phineas and Ferb, who happened to be visiting China with their family during the civil unrest. Working together, Phineas and Ferb and the thousands of Chinese students created a list of 7 demands for the Chinese government for their summer vacation, which included things such as surfing a tidal wave, locating Frankenstein's brain, and even finding a dodo bird. Unfortunately, their demands fell on deaf ears, as the Chinese government was not in the mood to negotiate that day. Wanting to crack down on the protest before it got out of control, the Chinese government brought in Doofenshmirtz of Doofenshmirtz Evil Incorporated Consulting to quickly crush the defiant student demonstrations. Dr. Doofenshmirtz marketed the use of his anti-protestinator 3000 to the Chinese government, which would instantly spawn hundreds of tanks within 50 miles of any protest, as well as censor the media and wipe anyone's recollection of the events after the protest had been thwarted by heavy use of force. Still trying to track down and bring Doofenshmirtz to justice, Mossad agent Perry the Platypus interrupted the meeting between Doofenshmirtz and the Chinese government. A general melee ensued, but ultimately Perry was defeated after he was double-crossed by Agent Peter the Panda, who was deep undercover within US ranks and was actually a Chinese sleeper cell whose activation phrase was "Noodles, don't noodles." Doofenshmirtz then successfully activated the anti-protestinator 3000, and hundreds of tanks and soldiers began rolling into Beijing to put down the student protests. Doofenshmirtz's anti-protestinator wiped all of China's memory of the event, except for that of Ferb and Candace, who hid in a thick lead dome as the Tiananmen Square violence unfolded. The trauma of the event deeply affected the once extroverted Ferb, who would go on to say very little for the rest of his life. Seeing how the event deeply affected the mental health of her stepbrother, Ferb, Candace vowed to never again let Phineas's ambitions victimize Ferb by keeping her mom as informed as possible. Unfortunately, by the time she was able to tell her mom about what had happened, the anti-protestinator had wiped everyone's memories, which made Candace look totally insane for saying that anything happened at Tiananmen Square in 1989. Ferb would later break his silence about the massacre several years later during a tell-all media event hosted by Oprah Winfrey. A shout out to my patrons for your continued support of the truth.